So the tradition continues. It is time to put Mama in the hot seat.
Oh boy.
Or put us both in the hot seat, honestly. If you have watched any of these before, whenever I have a guest on, I try to do a Q&A with them. It doesn't always work out, but when possible, we try to film a Q&A afterwards. And I ask those questions on Instagram, which is a little bit of a way to help cross-promote as well. So if you're not following my Instagram, go over there and follow me. And the next time we do a Q&A, you'll get prompted to ask questions if you'd like to. That is The Bates Kitchen on Instagram. You can't miss me. So let's start with this. I just wanted to tell Mama B how amazing she is for all she did for Papa Bill. She's truly amazing. She really did sacrifice a lot. She, first of all, sacrificed a lot to take care of all of us kids. But when Papa Bill started getting sick, different members of the family, but especially my mom, went down there and really spent a lot of weeks helping care for him.
I don't feel like it was a sacrifice at all. I told Mama Jane at the funeral the other day, I don't want to start crying, but I wish I could have one more day to take care of them. Time goes too quick. We were blessed to have Papa in our lives, and I do want to thank everyone that has sent messages and prayed, and please keep praying for Mama Jane.
Yeah, she's got a lot going on there too, and the family's still staying down there. A question about that coming up I saw, actually, it was somebody asked, will Jane stay at the farm alone now? And several people asked that. And, I don't get into too much with what other people's decisions are that aren't on here. People are asking, will Kelly still be going back and forth, or will Jane come to you some?
Kelly will definitely be going back and forth still. Gil
and several of the kids. We've already got a trip planned. Oh, the groceries? Yeah, you can bring the groceries in, but do it quietly.
Oh, groceries, yeah. Thank you. Thank you, buddy.
All our hamburger groceries for tonight's cookout.
Thank y'all. That's so
Y'all
fun.
are helping.
So Gil and I just came back from the farm. Annie's there with Mama Jane now, and different kids are planning on going back.
There's already a calendar because I mentioned that we were going down on our way. We always stop by the farm on our way to Charleston, which is kind of our family's vacation spot. And Mom's like, well, let me put you on the list for this day and this day because it's filling up. And they also have Greg and Casey there and all of their kids, and they have Jenny there. So they definitely, Jane will not be without love, but we always want to make sure.
And the good thing is, I told Mama Jane, I said, Mama Jane, you have cared for Papa relentlessly over these last several years. And she kind of ended everything. She had to stop going to church. She had to stop, traveling. And I said, now you can come visit some of your grandkids and great-grandkids. We'll take you. You can go visit your sisters at the beach. So I think that'll give her something to look forward to.
Papa Bill was kind of that big, out in the forefront personality, but Mama Jane was always behind the scenes really making things work. Yeah. And we don't want to forget her up there either. I would love to hear when your mom met your Papa Bill, the first impression. I want to hear that, actually.
Okay, so if you knew Papa Bill and Mama Jane, they're hilariously funny, madly in love, and very committed to each other. But it reminded me a little bit of like watching a Ma and Pa Kettle show. Some of y'all won't know who Ma and Pa Kettle is.
Chase around with that frying pan.
If you look it up, it's an old black and white show, and they kind of bickered a little, but in a funny way. And Ma Kettle would chase Pa Kettle around with a frying pan. That was my first impression upon meeting Papa Bill and Mama Jane. And I kind of was looking like this, and I said, Gil, are they fussing? Or he said, oh no, they're not fussing. That's just just Papa Bill and Mama Jane.
We went up there all the time.
But
Jenny, you're gonna burn them. Get over there and watch some bacon, Papa.
Yeah, they're also laughing and loving each other through all of that, and it didn't take long for me to realize they had something special.
What was going on the first time you met them? How did that go down? What were you going up there for?
Papa Bill owned a little store, Creightonville grocery store, and he would cook. Mama Jane was a nurse, but she would come home from nursing, help close the store, and do a little bit of the work there in the store before closing. So she had a long day.
Because supper was the busy time.
She had a long day. And so the first time I met him, I think Gil took me to that store to eat. And I fell in love with the family as soon as I tasted the slaw. That's where our slaw recipe came from.
And that slaw recipe is actually on our YouTube channel. Papa Bill's slaw is down there. And I wish we could have cooked that with him. But by the time I started cooking this, it was really, on the YouTube, it was really past kind of the situation in their health where they would have been comfortable doing stuff like this. But we still try to bring those recipes, and that is still always been a family favorite.
Y'all's hard work ethic was passed down from your daddy and then from his daddy, because Papa Bill, no matter when you saw him, where he was at, he was working, whether it was on
a lot
the farm,
of different things.
whether it was Creightonville Groceries, whether it was running for politics, whether
real estate.
During his judge years. He was a diligent man, so he was always working when I saw him.
He had a lot of knowledge. You could ask him about anything, and he'd had his finger in the pie somewhere and doing it at some point. Can Miss B talk any more about her Barrett's? I have it too and was wondering how she manages.
Okay, so I did have reflux for many years, and I was just taking over-the-counter stuff. I didn't realize that you can get complications from that. It can turn into something more serious like Barrett's esophagus, which mine did. And I'd gotten to the point that I was having it so often and so many episodes of just aspirating.
Some of those are terrifying, truly terrifying.
Very scary. I ended up being prescribed some really strong medications, which I stayed on for about 10 years, and they were very strong prescription medicines. I heard about a surgery you could have, TIF, fundoplication surgery, to repair hernia that would also help with that reflux. I had that surgery a couple of years back. It was a tough decision because I was kind of scared and, wishy-washy about surgery, but it's the best thing I ever did.
Any kind of surgery is a little scary.
I don't have any reflux issues now. I'm off of all medication. I don't take anything.
That's awesome. And I remember that. I remember you trying to make the decision whether or not to do the surgery. That was quite a decision to go through, but really glad to not have. We had the ice cream always stayed in the fridge because you'd be crying some nights, and there were a lot of nights you just couldn't sleep. You would just stay up all night.
I was really scared to fall asleep.
It was difficult on the rest of your health as well.
Yeah.
It was very difficult and taxing. Yeah. And poor Dad, he'd fall asleep and he couldn't wake up. So it was both flip sides of that.
I don't know if y'all get blamed for the reflux. All my kids and pregnancies, they say that causes heartburn. I don't know to blame y'all, or if it was my bad eating. But whatever it was, if it was y'all, it was worth it all. So. Well,
if it was bad eating, that's worth it too. I've ate a lot of food I shouldn't, but I loved it. What is your favorite memory with Papa Bill? And I love these Papa Bill questions. For those of you that don't know, my Papa Bill, he's kind of the patriarch of the family. He got dementia several years ago, and he's been declining for a while and ended up passing away. And we just laid him to rest this last week in South Carolina, where Dad and Mom are both from. And it's been very sweet to see all of the people that have taken time to reach out, that kept up with him through the family show, have kept up with him through the different families' YouTubes and Instagrams and things like that. And a lot of y'all really loved him through that, and seeing that love come back really does mean a lot and is very special to all of us. But we do miss him a lot, and I appreciate the questions about him, those of you that are asking them.
So what's some of your favorite memories?
Well, let's hear yours.
Okay.
I want to hear yours first, and then I'll give one of mine.
So many memories. I love talking about Papa, but when I think about Papa, there's a couple of things that I picture instantly in my mind. One is, in the morning, every morning, when we would go there, he would make orange danishes, but he would stand by the grit pot, stir the grits and make grits and add the cheese. And the kids loved cheese grits. And so every morning he was awake before any of us, down there cooking and it was a crowd. Cooking for all of us.
I cook for my family, and I think that's a crowd. But we would be, and it wouldn't be just us, because Greg would come up, some of the cousins would come up. I mean, he'd effectively be cooking for 30 or 40 people.
The thing that stood out to me about that was the help that he was to Mama Jane in the kitchen. Now, Mama Jane, I don't want to minimize the work she did, because she, holds it all together. But Papa would wash dishes, wipe counters, cook. He was not afraid to get in there and help. And if he ever did forget to, Mama Jane told him to go do this. She made sure to tell him.
He was a great fixture, but he knew his place.
Yeah. But the second thing I remember is him being in the yard up until really he got dementia, playing ball with the kids, even in his 70s, late 70s and early 80s. He would be out there in the yard, tossing a baseball, hitting a bat, and playing with the kids, very hands-on. And I loved that about him. I loved that he was so involved. And that's some of the kids' best memories too, I think.
For me, my best memories as a child were we would go up there, and every year it started, we had the baseball game in the backyard, which is really tight. Right off the back of the house, you go out to past the well and past the old well house. There was a fence there, and then the first cow fence came across the back. So it was kind of a little triangle in the back. But we were little, and we couldn't really hit a ball that hard. So we'd be playing baseball back there for the longest time, probably till he was up in his 60s. Mama Jane playing too. We'd all take our turns, and that was kind of a big highlight every Thanksgiving that we were up there, or even a lot of the Christmases were very temperate, being here in the South. And we would get out there and play baseball, play softball. They like to do the underhand pitch because kids were a little wild as we started growing older and knock it into the window or something. And then as we grew, it moved to football, and Papa Bill kind of stepped back as the ref more, and he would call all the plays. He would sit there, and I think that's kind of when we started the show in the family. That's kind of where you see Papa Bill is some of those moments I'll still remember. Somebody claiming they caught the ball versus somebody being like, no, you didn't. And Papa Bill having to watch the replay and make the calls. Those were a lot of fun. And he really loved that role as well. And everybody would kind of sit out there. But as I got older and started my own family, one of my favorite memories became calling him on the phone when I had a big decision. And I would ask my dad, don't minimize that at all. I love my dad and his advice. But my dad always taught us there's wisdom in multiple counselors. You want a multitude of counselors. So ask as many opinions as you can, because they've all lived longer than you have. And I would always call Papa Bill when I went to buy my first home, when I went to, sell that home, when I went to buy my next home, making decisions about politics when I ran for office.
He had a wealth of knowledge.
Everything that I did, I could call Papa Bill about. And I know he was always so proud of me, too, when I got into law enforcement, because he was a judge. And before I got into law enforcement for my own, when I would go to Anderson, one of the things he would do is he would set me up to ride with the sheriff's department there, do a ride along, one of the night shifts. He knew a lot of the deputies. And so he'd hook that up. And I mean, he really was a major influence on my life in a way that I don't think outside of the family I really have talked about much, but really going to miss that. And those are some special memories. I can just hear his voice. When I was a little kid, he called me Zacky Wacky. But as I got older, he'd be like, I can almost hear him saying, well, you'll have to think about this, or you'll have to he would always make me think. He wouldn't just tell me an answer.
Yeah.
You can do that, but you'll have to think about this. Well, you'll need to think about this if you go that route. And I can kind of picture that in my mind, and I hope that stays with me.
One thing that I loved about Papa Bill and Mama Jane, we would make our trips to the farm about once a month with all the kids, but after we got so many, they started coming to us, and about once a month they would come up, drive all the way to Tennessee with their little picnic basket, and they'd come just so involved.
Yeah, and we'd eat their chips.
Yeah, eating their chips. Eat all their food.
Will either of you plant a vegetable garden this summer?
Oh, Zach, Judson is begging me to have a garden, because when y'all were little, we always had a garden. We canned food. We had quite a big garden, and we kind of have dropped that off over the years, and Judson's been begging me.
Hard to pass up an 89-cent can of green beans.
You're supposed to plow a garden, the fall before you plant, and then rototill it. We didn't do that, so I need to get a rototiller and get it,
I need to plant a vegetable garden, but I've got some other things that I'm looking at working on this year, and another year behind, I'm not going to make it. But I do want to start gardening, even if it's something small. It doesn't have to be huge. I would like to at least start gardening before my kids get, Bradley's 10. By the time he's 12, I'd like him to be at least used to working, the knowledge of how to grow things. And I'm by no means an expert green thumb, but the knowledge of growing things and how to do that is something that I want my kids to know.
And I love when kids are using their free time outdoors, whether it's digging tunnels in the yard and building forts or gardening, instead of the screen time. Instead of the screen time,
Oh, this is funny. Is any of your kids a picky eater?
Oh my!
No matter how good your food is, they just won't try it.
Oh my goodness. Oh, in parenting, you're wondering, do I make my kids eat things that are good for them, because I know it's good for them, or do I let them get away with being picky like I am? And I never could find that balance. I probably let mine be too picky. But Zach, one time I was going to try, because I'd heard some parenting tips, you need to teach your kids to eat good, healthy variety. And so I had told you, was it chicken dumplings or something you hated? I don't know what it was that I cooked. And I was going to tell you that you had to eat it and couldn't go play till you ate it. Do you remember that?
Did I like it or not?
I think you threw it up after I made you eat it.
Oh, that was lima beans.
Lima beans. And I decided after that, you know what? He's going to be picky.
Yeah, still hate them lima beans. But you made me try chicken casserole, and it's still one of my favorites.
Okay, that
It's still one of my favorites. So it's hit or miss. It was 50-50.
I do have some picky eaters. Who would you say is the pickiest eater in the family?
Every kid that comes out of your family is picky. And I think, though, that picky...
I feel like when they get married, they're not as picky.
They branch out, yes.
There are some exceptions. Trace is still just as picky. Yeah. If Zach is cooking with onions, he won't even walk in the room.
Garlic, too. He says the smell of garlic makes him want to throw up.
Yeah.
That's just because he's a vampire. The crazy thing is, you get used to eating what you grow up eating.
Yeah.
And, you can only cook so diverse when you're cooking for an army.
True. In y'all's defense, I was picky, so I cooked
what you like.
I catered according to my pickiness.
In your defense, let's be honest. You did the Taste of Home subscriptions.
Yes.
Granddad always got them for you.
Yes, that was my Mother's Day present. Yeah.
And we would always try a new recipe out of that. And 9 times out of 10,
they would get vetoed.
You would work as hard as you could. I mean, you would literally work all day going through this recipe. And you would sit on the table, and every single one of us would turn our nose up at it. And you got to where it's like it's not worth trying to cook things that the kids don't like, or that less than half of them will even try.
The things that
you knew what they did like.
The things that y'all did like
were easy.
Might have been shocking to some of these people. If we ever cooked those bologna,
I want to do them so bad. Poor man's
the bologna
steak
cups,
and potatoes.
yes, and the pork and bean sandwiches, which is not what it sounds like, but
we loved all those things.
We loved the weird food, yeah.
We just didn't love the good food.
That's right.
We did not. I didn't even like meatloaf, and I love it now, but I didn't even like meatloaf, and everybody that ate Mom's meatloaf loved it.
Yeah, I would have to say we're all picky. Even Gil, even your daddy's picky. Yeah. And there's a lot of vegetables. Both of us did not start eating broccoli and asparagus till some of our married kids talked us into it. And
the crazy thing is, Whitney kind of got me into fish and seafood.
Right.
And she was always very adventurous. And now
I didn't like it.
And now I love to eat different things. I know I see Josie trying a lot of different things.
A lot of our kids have ventured out. Yeah.
So a lot of the kids have really diversified as they got older. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong. We all grew up plenty big enough.
And I feel like there's a good trend toward everyone trying to move a little bit more healthy.
Yeah, I think that I'm seeing that a lot even in my friends and stuff too, just trying to get past. And I love the old easy stuff. I mean, we just made the lemonade pie. It's by no means healthy.
But you
it's super
splurge.
easy.
You got to splurge sometimes.
And the chicken casserole, that's another one, 3 and 4 ingredients. It's great to have some of them in your back pocket, some good 3 and 4 ingredient meals. But for me, if I'm cooking or if I'm going to develop a recipe, I try to see how close to from scratch or from raw ingredients can I bring this recipe.
Yeah.
And some of it's just some simple adjustments. I can cook green beans from a can. That's not a problem. Or I can take literally 10 minutes and I can cook fresh green beans and cook them in a little bit different manner and still have great flavor.
That's why I love coming to your house to eat.
Yeah, it's there's some ways that I can just make things a little healthier. Or even like you used to do, it was homemade cans. Growing up, you canned your own green beans, which is another step towards a little bit healthier than just over-processed foods. And, you're never going to get it all out of there. But I'm still going to stop and eat a McDonald's burger every once in a while. But you do what you can. What is your favorite recipe that you learned from your mom? I'm going to be real honest about this one. I can't tell you what my favorite recipe from my mom is. I know that I really treasure a lot of those recipes that I grew up eating because there's sentimental value attached. I remember.
And most of them you'll find on your cooking channel because we've tried to recreate them.
That's one of the things I'm trying to do with the channel, and that Mom is on a lot, specifically because I want to get all of those recipes that I can and put them back for my own kids to remember and for me to remember. And we've even brought back some recipes that I ate as a child that the family doesn't really cook anymore. One of those is the lemonade pie we just made. Pimento cheese is going to be coming at some point. That's one that we used to eat all the time. It was at every event.
Every
and we
event.
don't do it. Congealed salad. The only place I've ever had it, besides you making it, is there was a little pizza joint up the road, Charlie's Pizza in La Follette, that always had it. It's not even there anymore. So it's like that's the only place, and that's actually a very popular 50s and 60s recipe. There's some other ones on YouTube I've seen that are very similar to that from the 50s and 60s. So a lot of these are 50s and 60s and even some 70s recipes that are kind of modified to the way that Granddad taught them to you, or that you picked up from other people at church socials and stuff, like the lemonade pie.
And they're too good to leave off.
They're too good to forget. And if you don't go back and make them, they just kind of vanish into the things that you don't eat anymore. Because everybody goes through those rotations. So I do love the chicken casserole. That's a winner.
Well, I will say this. This was not a recipe of mine, but talking about Zach's favorites, and you'll remember this. Zach loved eggnog, and his birthday happened to be in December. And so
there was always eggnog.
Yes, so he wanted eggnog, and one birthday he wanted eggnog cake, eggnog ice cream, and eggnog to drink.
Icing. And eggnog icing on the cake.
And I didn't have a recipe for that, but I would call my sister Kay, who bakes cakes for a lot of the weddings and things, and she made an eggnog cake, eggnog icing, all that. So. And
Uncle Rick came over and made homemade corn dogs.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that. That was a big night. Back at the farm.
Eggnog.
Which birth was the hardest or the longest?
Ooh,
now that's an interesting question.
The very shortest birth was the hardest birth, because I've heard that the shorter the labor is, the more intense the pain. And Carlin's birth was about an hour and a half from start to finish. And it was by far...
That was fast. I remember that one.
It was by far the most painful birth of all. Of all the births.
Is Carlin's the one where you were walking in front of the house? I have to tell this story. You're not...
Oh my goodness.
You would go walk. Mom had home births, and she would go walking when labor started getting intense and
to kind of
move things along. You spread that one up for sure. And we lived in the neighborhood. It was on the Dogwood Trail in Knoxville. If you're familiar with Knoxville, the Dogwood Trail is a scenic route, and a lot of people would walk it as well. Y'all were walking, and you knew you were in labor.
Yes.
And Dad's walking with you, and there's this other guy walking, or kind of jogging, and just to make conversation, as Southerners will do, just make small talk. He's like, it's not going to be long now. You're coming along well or something. And without missing a beat, I don't know if it's you or Dad.
Dad,
yeah. Dad, who thinks that everybody's in the same mindset as him, looks at him and goes, yeah, contractions are about 30 minutes apart now. And that guy about lost it. He's like, can I call 911? What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
Maybe that guy's watching this YouTube video. You'll let me know. I want to meet you.
Yeah, and the longest birth, you asked the shortest and longest. The longest was Jackson, because labor would start and stop and start and stop. And it kind of lasted for about 30 hours. Wasn't very intense. My contractions never got closer than 15 minutes apart. So I kept thinking, wow, if I've got to wait for the contractions to get close, I'm never going to have this baby. But they never got close.
And
he came.
Now I know, and we've got that forever now. How many grandkids are there, counting people that are pregnant? I never can keep up with this. I always get it wrong.
We have 32 grandkids that are here. We have 5 more that are due, and who knows? You
5
never
more
know.
that we know about that
5
are due.
more that we know
and
about.
And I don't even know about all of those, I'm pretty sure.
I never know.
How old were your kiddos when you introduced spicy food to them?
Woo, I've always, and I think Gil too, have always loved Mexican food. I can't eat it super, super hot and spicy, but I love Mexican food. It's probably one of my favorites.
Y'all are limited on the spicy food, though. That's probably the only spicy food.
We don't go like you. Zach does all the habanero peppers and however you say that.
Texas Pete was my first introduction to spice, and I would put it in everything.
No.
Put it on my eggs. I put it on everything I could put it in.
Mexican medium salsa is about as spicy as we get.
That's about as
spicy as we get, yeah.
What's the favorite chicken recipe in your home?
Ooh, our immediate favorite that we cook in our house is probably Callie's
enchiladas. Yep, I remember
chicken enchiladas, because it's quick and easy, and she does it for me. I don't have to cook, and that's on one of your shows.
Yep, that, chicken casserole, and chicken salad, all of which are on episodes.
Yes.
But those 3 are the 3 fastest And some
Dad's
of the three favorites.
favorite is definitely chicken salad. He has some chicken in a crock pot at our house right now for chicken salad.
I'll tell you when we have it done. I've done my chicken noodle soup, but your chicken noodle soup is very different. It's so fast and so easy, and we need to do that one because that was a favorite growing up, but y'all don't eat that a lot anymore.
Oh, we do in the winter. Yes,
well,
we do.
Come this fall, we're going to do that one.
Okay, that's a good one.
Your favorite summer meal menu. I want to hear yours.
Oh, you know, summer makes me think of picnics, and I don't do a lot of this anymore, but when I would make fried chicken tenders.
I love your fried chicken.
Fried chicken tenders, hands down, on a picnic, lunch.
I loved it the next day. You know what?
You know, Callie makes the fried chicken tenders now.
I did not know that, but I do know this. We need to do your fried chicken because I have probably 4 or 5 different fried chickens I make. But yours, I've never been able to recreate yours, and it's probably one of my favorite fried chickens. It's so good whether you're doing it with barbecue sauce, honey mustard, or even just straight honey. I used to love doing it with cold in the morning for breakfast the next day.
Right. You can do it in a frying pan skillet. You can
deep fry it, air
fry it. You can even do it in the oven. So.
Well, I reckon I'm just going to have to have that.
Okay. But yes, fried chicken for me for a picnic. I'm a Southerner. So.
See, I didn't realize I was going to say something different for summer, but then you said that, and now I'm kind of just thinking that. I was going to say like hamburgers and hot dogs because I love getting on the grill or a T-bone steak.
Yeah, now that would be more Dad's choice.
Grilling out in the summer. That's what summers are for, but fried chicken's pretty good too. Well, guys, one more Saturday is come and went, but thank you guys so much for tuning in, watching us, asking questions about the family, and especially this week for all your care and concern about Papa Bill and his passing. We love you guys and can't wait till next week.